Hello everyone, I'm Robin. Today we are working with the Craft Colour Sun-Dye Kit. I'm going to give you a few handy hints on how to use and get the most out of your dyes. Now there are 6 different sun-dye kits, each containing 3 cleverly matched colours that will not only look good together, but will mix well and not get too muddy. Now let's get started, but first of all, let's see what comes in the box. We're going to work with the Harvest sun dyes today, and that includes these 3 colours, that's lorikeet, mustard and clay. Now the box also comes with 3 pipettes, a brush, a sponge brush, some gloves and some basic instructions. As well as the things in our box, here are the other items I'm going to use. Now the fabric I'm going to use, I've just got some white cotton here. I have washed it, and I always like to wash my products before dyeing just to get any size or any finish that has been put on during production. I've also taped it down to keep it nice and tight. Now you might have a frame that you want to use, but I'm just taping mine down to a board. I also have diluted my dyes here. I've done a 1 part dye to 1 part water, and that's just fairly standard. If you want a watercolory wash, then of course add more water. If you want much stronger colours, then add more dye. I've got the 3 colours from the Harvest box here. I've also got my brushes and my painting items, and also I've got a collection of items I'm going to use to create that design that the sun's going to create on our fabric. But first of all, just have a little look at my fabric here, because I've got some tape down. Now this tape is going to create like a stencil. You might like to create, cut out big shapes, and I've got some big tape here. You might like to cut out some shapes and cut them out and put them on here as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, of course, is we're going to use our dye and create a pattern to put onto the fabric and then put our items on. Now this dye is great just for normal painting and dyeing, but the sun dye is the special part. So let's get started. I always like to put the light colours down first. So I'm going to put my yellow using my sponge brush. I'm just going to do some swirls. I'm not going to think too much because it's more about experimenting and showing you what effects you can have. So I'm just going to put a couple of, okay, what about some brown. Right, just having a bit of fun. Like any art, it's great to have a few goes at experimenting with ideas and designs before you use or create your major piece. And as I said before, all of the sun dye kits come with colours that are selected. So no matter what I do, these colours are going to look really good together beside each other and when they're blended. So I'm just going to pop some colours through here. I'm going to use my dyes later on when the piece is dried. So I'm going to pop those dyes over here. Now I've wet the fabric with the sun dye, and now is the fun part. Now we're going to put a lot of items on here that are going to block the sun. Now I've got 2 things to show you. Here's a coin, and here is just a disc of card. Now the coin edge is, the sun is totally blocked out, but with the bit of card you can see that the light is going to sneak around the edges. So what we're going to get is a really crisp line here and a much softer edge here. So the other things I'm going to experiment with, I've got a few bits of card that I like to play with, some more coins maybe. Now other items, I've got some nails here. Now I'm just going, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to put some nails down. It's going to block some of the light and still leave the light getting through. So let's just see what happens when I just play with a little bit of some nails and see what happens there. The other thing here is also some sand. Now I'm going to create maybe a curve with my sand. and see what happens with the sand. Now, the sand is great because you can then manipulate shape. You can create lots of designs using the shape. Also, if you wanted to, you could use, just do some, leave little areas inside that the sun can get through. So let's see what happens. What you'll need to do is just experiment. Have a go like this, put lots of things out, see what happens, and just use those as a starting point. Here are my leaves. Now, if you're looking for leaves or doing leaves, try and find ones that are fairly flat. You want the light to sort of, to block out the light rather than curved ones. So a series of leaves. Let's pop a few down over here. Oops, there's a bit of one. There we go, a few leaves over here. And also I'm going to use a part of a stencil here. I'm going to pop a stencil on the corner of my piece now. You might want to tape that down or just pop something heavy on it later on. Now this is ready to go out into the sun. Now if you're out doing this in the middle of winter and you haven't got a sunny spot, I sometimes like to use my infrared light. Now you might have got this if you've got reptiles or little chickens that you're trying to keep warm, or if you've got a sports injury and you've got an infrared lamp. These work perfectly well. So if it's not sunny, try your infrared lamp. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this out to the sun, going to let it dry, and then we're going to take the pieces off to see what we've got. Then after that, we're going to continue adding some dye and continuing to build up our design. Now let's see what we've got. I've had this outside in the sun. I've also had some paper towel underneath my fabric, and it's created a really nice effect. Let's see what's happening. So let's check these leaves out. If I take the leaves off, you can see the little shapes of the leaves here. Now let's have a look also, there's a coin. Oh, and once again, you can see how that's totally blocked the light there. So you've got a really defined colour there, and the same with this one. You can see how the coin blocks out the total light, but with the circles of cardboard, you can get a little bit of light underneath. So you get a really nice muted effect. And the same with that one there. And I'm really loving that intersection of the yellow and the green here. Now let's check out what happened when we remove all of our nails. I love that. Great start if you're looking at an embroidery and you're looking for foliage. Some more leaves up here. And some coins. Let's check out what's happening underneath here. Oh wow. Using tape to mask the colours is fantastic. And don't forget, this is just the start. If you want to, you can go another layer and take it outside again. Let's take those off. Now, let's check what happens under our stencil. Now, there's a lot of light could get underneath there, so we'll just see. Wow, I'm loving that effect. It's almost like a batik effect here. And let's check out what happens with the sand. Just going to take that off, tap that off. It's not quite dry there. Let's give it a bit of a tap. I'm really happy with that. Now, as we've said before, the dye that we're using is actually not only a sun dye, but it's also an ordinary dye as well. So I'm going to use my brush and come back and paint over some of these. And if I wanted to, I could go out in the sun again and have another go with different sorts of different colours. Get that bit off there. So with my brush, I could then come along and once again sort of like go around out some of these and exaggerate some of the shapes that I've got. This one here. Or I could do a wash on some of the sides here. So once again. So your brush you can use just to add the dye after it's had the sun dyeing effect. Once you've finished your artwork and it's dry, give it a really good press with a hot iron. As hot as the fabric that you've got can take. Probably 3 or 4 minutes of really good ironing, and that will fix the dyes. The dye is permanent, so you can wash it and it's ready to go. The sundial will give you a really good starting point for lots of different textile ideas. You can see I've started one here. It's just using this idea of the circles, and you can see the crisp line of the coin and that lovely muted line of the cardboard. I've just started to do some embroidery on here, a little bit of applique, and then I've over painted with the dye with my brush. I hope you enjoy working with the sundials, and whether you use them in your own art practice and your own textile work, or just a great afternoon with the kids, they are really good fun. Don't forget that Craft Colour have lots of other kits to look out for. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.